Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Stay in Touch Best Practices, How to Use Zest to Maximize Upsells, Revenue, and Guest Satisfaction. I'm your host and your presenter, Justin DeRisi, the customer marketer here at Stay in Touch. This will actually be the first in a series of webinars where we will go beyond training to show you the best practices and strategies for optimizing your experience with Rover and Zest. This presentation will last approximately 45 minutes. I have a lot of content to go over today, so I don't think we're going to have time for a live Q&A session. However, if you do have questions, feel free to ask them in the question box in the middle of the control panel, and I will definitely get to them after the presentation via email. So moving on to the webinar agenda. The webinar is really going to be divided into two basic sections. So the first section, we're going to look at getting the most out of mobile as a source of upsell and ancillary revenue. And we're going to start out by actually looking at why we use mobile to upsell in the first place, right? Why not just rely on the traditional method of face-to-face interaction on the front desk? What does mobile bring to the picture that the traditional method does not? Then we're going to look at different best practices or psychological hacks for mobile upselling. We're going to cover the fact that upselling is not about revenue, it's really about enhancing the guest experience. We're going to look at what you can upsell and when you can upsell. Spoiler alert, it's more like what can you not upsell and when can't you upsell. We're going to look at a number of different best practices, everything from pricing structure to different writing tips for writing effective marketing copy. We're going to take some time to look at how to take compelling photographs. Remember, photographs are the main way that you're going to display the value of your rooms and your add-ons. So after that, we're going to look at part two, and that we're going to apply these best practices specifically to Rover and Zest. This isn't going to be a deep dive, how to step by step, but more of an overview of what features does Rover and Zest have with regards to upselling and cross-selling, and how you can utilize those features. In part three, we're going to show you a couple of use cases just to show that these best practices actually work, and they do. And then in part four, that's not going to be a section that I'm actually going to speak on, but it is a series of how-to resources that you can utilize if you do want the deep dive, to go step by step on, let's say how to set up a Zest check-in. And we will actually send you the slide deck after the presentation, so you'll be able to click on all of those links. So there we are. So why use mobile to upsell? So let's compare hotels to the airline industry. And Focusrite did a study back in 2011, and they were comparing the airline industry to the hotel industry with regards to how much of their revenue was earned through ancillary products and upsells. And the airlines did pretty well. So they had about 12% of their total revenue was due to ancillary products. Hotels lag behind at 1.7%. Why is this? Probably there's many factors. I think one of the major factors is that the airline industry was an early adopter of mobile technology, and the hotel industry has been, more lagging behind in that area. If you remember 10 or 15 years ago, all of the smart kiosks started popping up in airports, and airlines certainly excel on sort of dynamic seat and bag pricing, a la carte online booking, assigned seating, et cetera, et cetera. Hotels, on the other hand, have sort of relied on the traditional face-to-face method of trying to upsell their customers. So the idea is the customer comes in, they're checking into their room, and during the check-in process, maybe right before the agent is about to check their ID, they say, hey, do you want to supersize to a presidential suite? And there's a number of reasons why this is not the most effective way to get conversions from your customers. First of all, guests are not really in a buying moment. The traditional checkout method is very transactional and it's very administrative. There's no way for the agent to really show the guest the value of what they're upselling. You can upgrade to a presidential suite, but what does that really mean? What value does that really give the guest? And generally, a lot of guests don't like to haggle in person, and they often feel like the face-to-face interaction is rushed or forced. And mobile really finds a way around all of these different sticking points. So if you take a step back for a moment and you look at sort of where the traveler market is going in general, study after study says that travelers want more convenience, control, and customization. This isn't just in hospitality, this is in everything we're doing. Here's some statistics I found. 57% of mobile 57% of customers prefer mobile notifications about deals and coupons in store. Almost 3/4 of business travelers prefer mobile check-in. They have places to go and people to see. Almost half of people have made a same-day hotel booking through mobile, and 14% have even booked their hotel in the airport departure lounge. So here we're actually seeing that travel is, in many cases, almost becoming an impulse buy. And so it's really important that you utilize platforms that can, capitalize on those impulse buys. So Rover and Zest let you create automated in-the-moment sales pitches based on comprehensive data on guest preferences and habits. Rover and Zest can send guests the right message at the right touch point to make an impact. So, you have a device in a smartphone, right, where you can literally send messages to guests in the palm of their hand. And you can send messages that are based on really robust profiles about guest behavior and guest preferences. And that can really make a difference. So, Mashable did a study and they found that mobile or targeted mobile messaging has a 5 to 20% conversion rate. And that can really add up. For an average 150-room hotel, you're looking at $65,000 a year in ancillary revenue. That isn't peanuts. So now we're going to look at upsell best practices and sort of getting the most out of Rover and Zest in terms of upselling. So I guess it's important to sort of note that even though we're talking about revenue and increasing upsells and ancillary revenue and things like that, that's not the primary goal of upselling. The primary goal is to enhance your guest experience. What you want to do is give each guest really the VIP treatment so they can have the best travel experience that they can. In that way, you can gain client loyalty and maybe even beyond that, turn your guests into advocates through positive reviews on sites like Travelocity. The idea is that you want to use upselling to create a virtuous circle where guests enjoy your hotel, want to stay there again, and tell their family and friends about it. In order to do this, you really have to know your guest, right? So there isn't one type of upgrade that will, that everybody will want. You really have to have deep segmentation of your customer base, and you have to know your guests' preferences and what they want. In terms of what you can upsell, pretty much anything. You can do room upgrades, spa services, or leisure activities, any number of food and beverage add-ons. So think champagne or fruit and chocolate. You can do special room features or amenities, king-size beds, an extra bed for kids, a balcony, or a bath. You can do other exclusive guest offers or special packages and loyalty programs. When can you upsell? Again, you can do it. You can upsell at any point in the guest journey. During booking and pre-arrival is a great time to focus on room upgrades. Check-in is also crucial for upsells, especially with mobile. If you have a in-stay messaging app, you can message the guest with potential upsells during their stay. Obviously, checkout with a late checkout option, and then post-day with loyalty packages. That's another great opportunity to gain ancillary revenue and to enhance your guest experience. The key with mobile is that because, again, you have this device that is in every one of your guests' hand, you can reach them at each of these touch points. Okay, so some hacks to maximize conversions. I'm going to keep reiterating this point throughout the presentation, but don't be pushy. You're not doing a sales pitch. This isn't like, you're not trying to, sell a used car. The idea is to really let the upgrade sell itself, and to understand that, these add-ons are enhancing your guest stay, and they're making it the best day that it possibly can. Utilize your customer database. Know thyself and know your customers. Offer multiple options. You never want to present the guest with a yes or no question. Do you want the presidential suite? Yes or no. What you should do is present them with, do you want the king size bedroom? Do you want the junior suite, or do you want the presidential suite? Present upgrades as a unique opportunity, and don't undersell your lower priced options. Just because something isn't as expensive as the presidential suite doesn't mean it won't add value to your guest trip. About pricing, it's important to be specific and incremental. Oh, one more point before I forget. So Rover and Zest actually automatically present all of your upgrades as multiple options, and I'm going to show you that in the next section. So there are no yes, no decision points. It's all, which upgrade do you want? Okay, pricing. So it's important to be specific and incremental with your pricing. So if you have your standard room at $150 and your junior suite is $175, you don't want to say the junior suite is $175. You want to say for only $25 more, you get XYZ. The point is, obviously it's the same number, but $25 sounds a lot less than $175. One tactic that people use is to add a decoy price. So the idea is to have, so if you have 3 price points, include one useless price to sort of drive people towards a higher priced item. So the idea would be, if your standard room is $100, your junior suite is $190, and then your presidential suite is $200, most people are probably going to choose the presidential suite over the junior suite because it's just $10 more. End every price with a 9. This is cliche. Nobody thinks that it works. It totally works every time. So the University of Chicago did a psychological study, and they had a woman's clothing item, and it was the exact same item. It was marketed in the exact same way. And it was sold for $34, $39, and $44. And the $39 option actually outsold the $34 option, even though it was the exact same item and it was marketed in the exact same way. There's something about seeing that 9 at the end of the number that makes people think that it's less than it is. Marketing and storytelling. So, the primary way that you're going to convey value for your add-ons and your upgrades is going to be through pictures, but that doesn't mean that your copy isn't important as well. The effective marketing is really all economy of language, especially in a mobile environment. We don't have a practical limit on your text, but again, you're communicating with people through smartphones or at most through an iPad. So your messages really need to be short, 1, maybe 2 sentences max. One of my old English teachers used to have a saying, tell me, show me, so what? So the tell me is going to be, what you're selling, the presidential suite. The show me is going to be the value prop, right? So the presidential suite has a balcony and a sitting area and maybe some other amenities. And then the so what is going to be your call to action. So press here if you want to upgrade your stay. It's really important that not only is your language efficient and economical, but that it's emotive, right? Like you want to frame frame each of your upgrades from the guest's point of view. So don't just say, you know, deluxe rooms have a view. Say, in this room, you can look out of your window and see the beach or see a wonderful skyline view of New York. Rather than saying the concierge floor has a lounge, say, as guests on this floor, you'll have 24-hour access to our exclusive executive lounge, which includes blah, blah, blah. Some other pointers, and this is from Renovate. So if you're going to kind of message your guests during their stay, emails with upgrade in the subject line have significantly higher open rates than those that do not. Similarly, automated welcome letters have a 48% open rate, which is really high. So this is my favorite part of the presentation. I like to do photography myself on the side, and it's really important. You know, since this is the main touch point with your guests where you can convey the value of your room, it's really important that you have compelling pictures. The good news is that you can take compelling pictures with a smartphone. You really don't need a professional photographer. You really don't need, you know, a $3,000 DSLR, although those things will certainly help. So I looked at Trivago, and they actually have a really great acronym for taking great pictures. It's called the CLEAR method. So if you look at C, CLEAR, the focus should be on your room, not on the mess in the room. You know, if you look at the room on the left, first of all, there's some lighting issues, but it looks messy. It really doesn't look very inviting. Another thing to watch out for is technology. If you have a TV in the room, like on the picture on the left, understand that that TV might be out of date in a couple of years, and you're going to have to, at the very least, replace your picture. So just be mindful of what technology is showing in your photographs. Light is really important in any picture, whether it's of a hotel room or otherwise. You really want to use natural light as opposed to artificial light. You can see in the picture on the left, the room just doesn't look flattering with that one little bedside lamp and I guess the fluorescent light coming from the bathroom. You want to utilize what photographers call the golden hour. So this is the hour after sunrise and the hour before sunset. That's when everything is golden and warm, and you basically, great pictures just take themselves. Post-production is really important. If you ever see a great photograph, it's never that way out of the camera. People do spend time editing. On the flip side, you want to avoid over-editing your photographs. You don't want the Instagram filter kind of look. You don't want the colors overly saturated or there to be too much structure. Really just some very natural white balance, adjusting the shadows, adjusting the contrast. There's actually a number of different photo editing software that you can use. Obviously, the most famous is Adobe Photoshop or Lightroom. Those are paid options, but there's free options like Pixlr Editor or Express or Google Snapseed, which you can use on your smartphone. That's actually a very powerful little application. The angle is really important. Think about the angle as sort of like the thesis of a paper. This is what you want to showcase about your room. So the picture on the left, it's just, well, I mean, again, they have some lighting issues, but it's just, you know, a photograph of a room. The picture on the right really showcases the bed. It looks comforting and inviting. You know, it looks like someplace I wanna slip into after a long, hard day of traveling. You should also be wary of walls or maybe large pieces of furniture that can make your room look smaller. You should also take your photographs with a wide angle lens, so something under 35 millimeter to sort of make your room look bigger. Last but not least, resolution. This is kind of a no-brainer, but the higher the resolution of your pictures, the better. So resolution looks at pixel width times pixel height. Now in Zest, we max out the resolution at about 900 by 500, which isn't terribly large, but you want to always, you know, let's just say it's better to start with a larger picture and then shrink it, then start with a smaller picture and blow it up. If you blow up a small picture, it's going to get blurry. Okay, so now the fun part. Now we're going to show how each of these best practices can fit into Rover and Zest. So if we look at pre-arrival and check-in, I think one of the first value adds we have is the ability for guests to set an early check-in time. You know, I know this has happened to me a number of times where my plane lands and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I can't check into my hotel until 3, and it's like, you know, what do I do with myself for the remaining, what is that, 6 hours? So what Zest Web lets you do is actually set your arrival time from your mobile phone. And you can see here that they can just really set any time that they want. There's also a handy comment section. So if you have any special requests, this is another touch point where you can you know, start a dialogue with your guest. Now, the thing about Zest is that it's you know, it's synced with the rest of your hotel, so that if there aren't any rooms available or ready at the time that your guest wants to check in, it just won't let them check in at that time. So you won't have a situation where you have a guest coming in at, you know, let's say 11 a.m. and you don't have any rooms, you know, ready, and you have to tell them, you know, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry, ma'am, you know, we don't have anything for you. That won't happen with Zest Web. Guests also have a range of times that they can actually choose from with different prices for each range. So if you wanted to do, you know, just check in from 1 to 3, that would be a certain price point. From 11 to 1, that would be another price point. And then if you want to check in the early morning, that would be a higher price point. Again, they, you know, this is all done through their mobile phone, so they can do this on the fly as their needs dictate. Sometimes flights are early. So you can also send potential room upgrades to your guests, again, right into their mobile phone. So you see here with this particular upgrade, there's a photograph of the room, so they know immediately what type of room that they're getting. You have 3 different levels of potential potential room upgrades, I'm sorry. And you can set these to whatever you want and whatever price points you want. It also allows you to input a detailed description for each of your rooms, so you can really sort of hit home the different value props of each of your rooms. Oh, and again, you know, this is all tied with the back end. So if a particular upgrade isn't available that day, or if it isn't ready, then it won't show on your guest's phone. So there's, you know, no possibility of sort of mishaps there. So here we see the room upgrade option from Zest Station. So remember, Zest Station is the guest-facing smart kiosk option. And this is run off of an iPad, so you have the benefit of more screen, you know, real estate, which allows you to have bigger pictures, which are always good. So this slide, I just wanted to show you sort of how you can reimagine your lobby using Zest Station. I'm not going to spend too much time here because I actually have an entire other presentation in the works you know, on how to reimagine your lobby. You know, the 2 value adds of Zest Station are, first, guest convenience, right? So again, think about airport kiosks, right? If you're running late for a flight, you know, it's really a relief to just go to a kiosk and be able to enter your information, get your ticket, and, you know, sort of get on with your trip. And you have the same convenience now at a hotel. The bigger value add, however, is that it frees your lobby from the granite front desk, right? And you can look at, you know, each of these lobbies have a different style, right? So, you know, one is more traditional, one, you know, utilizes a lot of sort of, it looks like a greenhouse, and then you have one design that's very modern. but you really can turn the lobby from strictly an administrative space to a space that's more guest-centric. So you could have a lobby theoretically that is a social space. Maybe you have a wine bar or a juice bar, or maybe you can turn your lobby into a co-working space. That's actually a very big trend, especially with business travelers, obviously. And this is actually a good way to segue into the benefits of Rover. So, so once you've freed your lobby from the Granite front desk, you can also free your staff from the Granite front desk. And unlike the traditional method of sort of face-to-face upselling, mobile upselling with Rover has a lot of advantages. So first of all, you can have your staff sort of roaming the lobby and meeting the guests where they are. Instead of having a forced conversation about the administrative aspects of check-in, your staff can ask guests how their stay or how their flight has been, what they plan to do on their stay, and get an understanding of what the guest preferences are. Maybe they can handle any guest issues before they balloon into a bad review. Most importantly, because your staff are armed with an iPad that gives them access to, essentially the entire PMS of their hotel, they can actually show the guests what they're getting with each of the upgrades. So you can see here that the friendly staff is talking to the guest, and she's showing him the different room options. And obviously they have really colorful and bright photographs to show how great these different rooms are. Similar situation with add-ons. So you can add 3 to 6 different add-ons with Rover and Zest. They can be tied to a specific rate. So for example, let's say if you have VIP parking, you might not want to offer that to someone who books through an online travel agency. Also in Overlay, you can import add-ons from Opera, so you don't have to enter everything in manually. Just some more screens about add-on options. Again, like with your rooms, you have a high level of customization. So obviously you can name it whatever you want. You can add a description. Remember to, that description there is probably not the best. You would want to talk about the type of champagne you have and how great and refreshing it is, but you can add a description there. Obviously, you can switch, add whatever price that you want. And this is really neat. You can combine different add-ons into different packages, right? And the way you would do that is through the little add-on tile at the very bottom of the screen there. So there, if you want to do the Valentine's Day, the Valentine's Day package, you can add the champagne and the strawberries and, maybe a discount at the spa or something like that. Late checkout. So this is another really great add-on that I feel is underutilized. I know personally, I like to have late checkout whenever I possibly can. I was actually out of town this weekend visiting family, and I know the day before I left, we all were out a little bit too late, and I'll tell you the 11 a.m. checkout time was not working for me. So the the ability to extend that checkout, from my phone is really crucial. And again, just going back to the best practices, we give the guests a number of different tiered options. So if they want to check out, maybe just an hour later, that's a lower price. But if they want to stay well into the afternoon, that's a higher price. Again, it's sort of the reverse of the early check-in, right? So, if you're checking out at 11 and your flight isn't until 6, what are you going to do for that period of time? Like all of the other guest-facing options in Rover, this is also tiered. And also, I'm sorry, it's also synced with the back end. So if you're booked that day and you absolutely need that guest to leave at 12 p.m., then those options, the 1 p.m. option, the 3 p.m. option aren't going to show. So this is just showing that the communication that you have with your staff. So here you can see on every dashboard that you have the number of late checkouts, and it tells you when, in this case, our CEO is checking out of the hotel, just to make sure that your whole staff is on board. So post-stay. So it's important not just to upsell during the stay, but it's important to develop a really robust guest profile so that you can, first of all, gain their loyalty and sort of optimize your upsell options for the future. And we have a number of different reports that kind of let you look at how your upsells are doing. So the basic one is the room upsell report. And this kind of covers your top level indices. So you're looking at your arrivals, the number of upsells that you've offered, and then your buyers and your conversion rate. So it's just a quick way to kind of see, how are our upsells doing. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can do the web check-in conversion by day. So this really breaks it down into the tiers. So you're looking at how many guests were sent an upsell email, and then the conversion rates for each of your tiers, from 1 to 2, 1 to 3, or from 2 to 3, and then looking at the conversions for all upsells. So this is really great if you're trying to figure out that sweet spot for pricing, right? So let's say if you have your junior suite is $175 and your presidential suite is $210, then, and your conversion rate is really low, then maybe you want to up the price of your junior suite a bit, so that, or conversely lower the price of your presidential suite, so that people have an incentive to choose the higher option. Here are some additional reports. So we see similar reports for the conversions by month, or I'm sorry, the late checkout conversions by month. And again, this is broken out into tiers. And then we can also look at the add-on upsells. So we can get the conversion rate for that as well. And here's another touch point with your staff. So you can actually set targets for different types of upsell, and then have that displayed on everybody's dashboard. And you can sort of look at where you want your staff to be, and then where they are at the present moment. So you can actually utilize this as part of a sort of internal staff mobilization campaign. The guest stay card. So this is really important. We like to say at StayNTouch that the PMS is the heart of the hotel technology stack, and this is really one of the pillars of that claim. So our stay card lets you store a lot of information about your guest. What types of rooms do they stay in? When do they stay? What time of year? What time of day? What are their preferences? What kind of water do they like? What room features are they likely to buy? And you can use this to sort of develop a really robust profile of your guests, and then push that profile to other pieces of technology in your stack. So you can push this information to your CRM, or to a reputation management software, or to various guest messaging softwares. So it just lets you really get that targeted messaging that you need to maximize your conversions. So let's look at some use cases. The Fontainebleau Miami is an excellent use case. They actually got Rover a couple of years ago, and they saw a 140% increase in their return on investment within the first 30 days. So Mashable said that your typical conversion rate for targeted messaging is 5 to 20%. They saw 20 to 40% conversion rate. So they were doing really well with this. Subjectively, they saw reduced lines and improved guest reviews. So, from the hotel side, they're making money. In fact, they're paying for their product early on, but they're also enhancing the guest stay. They're making check-in more convenient for the guest, and the guests are responding in kind. They have better reviews. Here's one review that I found. This was actually by Matthew Bailey. He's a contributor for Media Post, and he was going over the top here. He said he was blown away by the planning, execution, and data-centric approach of the Fontainebleau. He received emails early on showing him all of the different amenities that the hotel offered, from restaurants to spas, entertainment. The email itself wasn't salesy. It wasn't trying to, force him to buy anything. It was just displaying the value of these different add-ons. And indeed, the add-ons were valuable. It was focused on education and presentation of the Fontainebleau as a destination for his journey. Moving on, the Conscious Hotel had really a similar experience. Here you can see their lobby. And again, the lobby is sort of reimagined using Zest Station. Instead of a front desk, you have a series of self-check-in kiosks, and there you can see a staff member actually walking around the lobby. It's just a much more inviting space, and it emphasizes guest convenience and also more personalization with the face-to-face interaction. So again, given the choice, 66% of guests opt for self-check-in at Conscious, saying that it is better and quicker than the usual check-in. And again, the sort of the convenience of self check-in and the high touch personalized service really go hand in hand. When your staff is not focused on this administrative centric approach of just like getting someone's ID, getting their information, checking them into the room, they can really focus on what the guest wants and how they can make the guest stay as good as they possibly can. Resources. So here you have some resources if you want to sort of move beyond the webinar, and if you see some features that you like and you want to utilize, we have, these are all articles, by the way, in Freshdesk. We have early check-in, late checkout, sort of how-to articles. We have room upsell articles. We also have articles on amenities and add-ons, and also different articles on reporting. We are adding content to Freshdesk all the time, and of course, we're always creating new webinars. So if you do have thoughts, comments, or questions, I'll certainly be more than happy to get back in touch with you. I know this webinar was a bit longer than the ones that we usually do. So there's a couple of ways you can get in touch with me. One is through my email address, jderisi@StayNTouch.com, JDERISE @StayNTouch. I also have a handy dandy Google form that you are more than welcome to fill out. If there's anything that either you weren't clear on, or if there's other aspects of Rover or Zest that you would like to have content, I'd be more than happy to hear that. Like I said, we're always looking for new ideas to how to help you guys better engage with your guests and better enhance your guest experience. Thank you very much. This has been a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it, and till the next webinar.